Do you know the timeline of Linux, how Linux evolved with the time? First we have a Unix, then GNU. GNU stand for GNU, not Unix, basically. And the Linux kernel, then we know about Ubuntu and all we know. Okay. So we are going to deep see about everything about Unix and GNU, Linux kernel, what are all those things. Okay. So stay tuned. We'll start with the Unix. Okay, so basically Unix is an operating system which is not an open source, and it's developed by Bell Lab in 1970s. And the developers are Ken Thompson and the Dennis Richard. Okay, so this one is the first widely successful OS, and it's not an open source. So I'm sure this is going to inspire a lot of future operating systems in upcoming days. Okay, so I'm talking about 1970s. So since this Unix was not an open source, so you can't use it anywhere. Okay, so for that you need to buy a license and pay some amount, and then you are going to use it. So then there is come into the picture GNU. Okay, and GNU stand for GNU, not Unix. Okay, I'm sure you are thinking what is these names, but yes, that's the truth, and inspired by the Unix. Okay, but there was a issue with this GNU, and that the issue was it's not stable kernel. Okay, I will explain you in upcoming, like after some time, what is this kernel and why it's required basically. Okay, and this GNU is developed by Richard Stallman. Okay, and in 1980s 1983. Okay, so this was the GNU. Then I'm sure you heard about this Linux kernel, and the person behind this who developed this is Linux Torvalds. I'm sure you have heard about, you have seen the reels recently. Okay, so this Linux kernel came into the 1991. Okay, and it's an open source, and it's inspired by the GNU. So basically GNU is inspired by Unix, and the Linux kernel is inspired by the GNU. Okay, so basically someone is developing something, and then you are adding few features, and then you are launching it. So that's the how things works. Okay, so after that, so we have a Linux which is open source, we have a GNU which is open source. So what people do, so open source means you can clone it, you can edit it, and then you can launch it. So that's what, but you need to give the credit. Okay, basically. So what people do, we combine the GNU. Okay, let me tell you what are the things available in GNU. Okay, so in GNU there is something called bash. I'm sure you have heard about bash shell, bash script. Okay, these are all there in that GNU. Okay, we have a libraries, GCC, and many other things are there. Okay, so basically these are the tools, packages you can say, which is available in GNU. Okay, so what people do, they use the GNU tools. Okay, and they use the Linux kernel. Okay, and then they combined it, and then they will got the different operating system, which is Ubuntu, Debian, and all. Okay, so that's the thing. This is the timeline of Linux, how Linux evolved from Unix to GNU Linux. Okay, and the interesting thing is, if you pronounce Linux, which is technically incorrect, so the correct pronunciation, if you want to say like I'm using Ubuntu Linux, so that's not the correct. The correct way is you can say Ubuntu GNU Linux. Okay, so basically that's what, it's not Linux, it's GNU Linux basically. That's what I want to say. Okay, and if you want to see the timeline, if you come, by the way, this is my channel Bucket Flow, and if you're new to the channel, do subscribe. And last like 3 years back I created this video, 4 reasons why you should learn Linux for the software development, and now here I'm creating the playlist for the Linux especially. Okay, and apart from that, I'm creating the playlist for AWS. Do check out, it's interesting. Okay, and if you're on LinkedIn, do follow me there as well, and you can check out my portfolio rakesh1.in. Okay, so back to our topic. So if you come to this website, okay, and here you can see the timeline of all the Linux distributions. Okay, we have a Debian. Okay, apart from the Debians, if you go here, there is something called need to run, something is there. Okay, so that's come. Okay, let me take a popular one, Kali. You can see here we have a Kali. Under the Debians we have a Kali. Where is that? If you click it, let's see what we will get here. Okay, something is there, but you got the timeline. Okay, how these things evolve, from what people do from Red Hat, and we have something more like distributions and all. That's why I called it a distribution. Okay, so this is the timeline. Okay, and let's move to our kernel versus OS. What is the kernel and what is OS? What is the use of that? Okay, so you can see here that we have the dotted line, which is represent the OS, and inside the OS we have a hardware like CPU, GPU, and all. Okay, to manage that hardware we need kernel, which should be stable, and it was stable in a Linux kernel. It was not stable in a open source of GNU. Okay, so that's why we need kernel which manage your hardware like processor, threads, and all, which is managed by kernels only. Okay, and on top of that we have a packages and tools, like tools, whatever the software you're going to use, that's called tools. Okay, this is the thing. That's the complete. If you combine all this, you will get the operating system. That's all, the simple definition about kernel and what is OS. If anyone explain, just explain these things, just show this diagram, they will going to understand it. Okay, so after that we have one question. Most of the servers which are running on the internet, like on the planet, are mostly are running on the Linux, not Linux, GNU Linux. Okay, why it's so? Basically, the first reason is it's an open source. Okay, and the second one is optimized. It's like, since it's open source, many people are coming and cloning the repository and improving the like code. Okay, so that's what, and it's a well documented. Okay, so the main thing is it's well documented. No matter you what you have created, how much useful that the software is, if it is not well documented, people are not going to use it. Okay, if it is documented and it's well structured, easy to navigate around the documentation, so people are going to use it because they have a reference if they stuck, where to go and how to look it. So that's the thing. Okay, if it is not well documented, okay, so no worries, no one is going to use. Okay, now the next topic is we have a VM and hypervisor. Okay, the definition is like, if I give you the simple definition about VMs and hypervisor. So basically VMs are a software based computer. VMs is nothing but a software based computer that run inside another computer. So basically what it's saying is, you have a computer, okay, in that we have a window operating system, and then you need to install Ubuntu. Okay, what you will do, you need to install the virtual machine. Okay, virtual machine, Oracle virtual machine. Then you need to download the image of the distribution, and then you need to install it Ubuntu. Basically what's happening is, you need something base. Okay, on top of that you need to install a virtual machine. Then in that virtual machine you need to create a complete different operating system. So basically you have one operating system which is you are using, and then again you have a operating system which is running on a virtual machine. So that's the virtual machine. Okay, and the hypervisor is a software that's create and manage virtual machine. So to run any virtual machine you need a hypervisor. We're going to see what is this hypervisor. Okay, no worries, and different types of hypervisor also. Okay, and in the hypervisor there are two kinds of. One is bare metal in the sense it's running on your hardware. Okay, so basically you can see here we have a hardware. Okay, then on hardware we have a hypervisor, and then we have a virtual machine which is VM1 and VM2, and that the OS Ubuntu is running on that. Okay, in the virtual machine. Now the second one is host. So to run the hypervisor in the type 2, you need a OS. Okay, which is a host. So we have a hardware, we have a operating system, okay, which is OS window. Okay, you can check, and then the hypervisor, and then we have a two virtual machine which is installed by which is in that virtual machine Ubuntu is installed. That's the thing. So you can see here we have a bare metal. On the bare metal, like on your hardware, you are going to install the hypervisor, then you are going to use it, and type 2 host, you need something on that, you are going to install the hypervisor, and then you can use it. So in window, if you want to use virtualization, basically you need to enable the hypervisor. Okay, let me type it here. In window, if you want to do the virtualization task, okay, virtualization task, so you need to enable hypervisor. Most of the modern system, by default this hypervisor is enabled, but if you are using the older laptops and any computer, you need to enable this hypervisor manually. Then only you can do this virtualization and all that. Without that it's a bit difficult. Okay, do let me know if you have any query above all these things, whatever the topics we have covered here. Do let me in a comment section. Okay, and this is my favorite playlist, I'm going to complete this, no worries. if you go to playlist section, okay, and if you go to GNU Linux, okay, already this playlist is exist, but if you go inside and you can check the things here, it's bit interesting actually. You will get interesting topics, okay. And most of the if you go to my channel and if you type here fun with Linux, you will see something which is fun with Linux part 1, part 5, which is very interesting. You can do check out this video. If you hate Linux, you are going to love this Linux, okay, by end of this playlist, I am sure. Okay, do let me know if any question you have. See you in the next video. Bye bye.